In 2025, the U.S. meat industry took a historic blow. A $5 billion collapse, triggered almost overnight, as China and Japan, two of its biggest customers, slammed the gates shut on American beef and pork. On April 15th, China unleashed a crushing 125% tariff on U.S. beef, a direct escalation in a brewing trade war, as reported by Reuters. The result? A 97% collapse in exports to China. USDA logs show shipments plunged from 2,000 tons a week to just 54 by March 27th. Beijing let nearly 1,000 U.S. meat plant licenses expire. Containers full of meat were left floating at sea with nowhere to go. At the same time, across the Pacific, Canada was quietly winning. After Japan lifted a 20-year ban on Canadian beef in 2023, the market cracked wide open. By May 2025, Canadian meat exports to Japan had surged 13.1%, according to Statistics Canada. That one policy shift opened a $518 million market, and Canadian packers wasted no time. They sealed $5 billion in new deals, muscling U.S. producers out of premium shelf space and high-end menus. From Seoul's upscale BBQ joints in Gangnam to Tokyo's elite steakhouses in Ginza, Canadian cuts are now front and center. The maple leaf has replaced the star-spangled steak. And this isn't just a trade story, it's a household crisis. U.S. grocery shoppers are already feeling it. Since 2020, ground beef prices have soared 43%, hitting $12 a pound by February 2025, according to USDA data. Bacon is flirting with $10 per pound. Grocers warn of a 15% price spike by Labor Day. It's not just inflation, it's the fallout of being locked out of the global meat market. Meanwhile, Canada is not just filling the gap, it's building an empire. In March 2025, Ottawa launched a $6.5 billion agriculture support package. It includes $1 billion for cold storage hubs and refrigerated rail corridors across Saskatchewan, letting Canadian producers bypass the U.S. entirely and ship straight to markets in Korea and the Philippines. Manitoba packers are locking in contracts with Asian buyers, offering stability and consistent supply that U.S. ranchers, choked by tariffs and red tape, can't compete with. Slaughterhouses in the U.S. are slowing. Cold chains are clogging. Ports are jammed with meat that no one wants. Demurrage fees are mounting. The U.S. protein pipeline is grinding to a halt, while Canada's meat machine hums with precision. What began as a trade war maneuver has turned into a complete reshaping of global meat power. Canada has stepped into the void, not just surviving but thriving. And while American farmers face cancelled orders and crumbling exports, Canada is playing a longer, smarter game. They've gone from underdog to global supplier, beef by beef, deal by deal, bite by bite. America's meat dominance didn't just slip. It got outflanked, outmaneuvered, replaced. And now the dinner plates of Asia no longer belong to the U.S. They're branded in red and white. The global meat map is being redrawn, and Canada's writing it. Ask ChatGPT while U.S. ports grind to a halt under the weight of rejected cargo, labor slowdowns, and red tape. Canada's rail yards are firing on all cylinders. Containers stacked sky-high in Vancouver and Winnipeg, efficiently loaded with premium protein cuts and precision-packed shipments bound for Asia's booming markets. It's not just a trade victory for Canada. It's a global power shift unfolding in real time. A silent takeover. As America retreats under the strain of self-inflicted trade wounds, Canada is charging forward, rewriting the rules of meat diplomacy, and it's winning. The contrast is stunning. On one side of the border, stagnation, chaos, and mounting losses. On the other, orchestration, investment, and international deals that lock in billions. The meat crisis facing the United States in 2025 isn't just another headline. It's the physical manifestation of a policy gamble gone spectacularly wrong. And ordinary Americans are footing the bill every time they step into a grocery store. Prices are soaring across the board. According to USDA data from February 28, 2025, ground beef has shot up 43% since 2020. Once affordable taco nights are turning into occasional indulgences, with prices rising from $8 to over $12 for the same ingredients. Bacon, an iconic breakfast staple, is hovering near $10 a pound, and it's only getting worse. Reuters reports grocers nationwide are bracing for a 15% price spike by Labor Day. For millions of low-income families, beef and pork have become unthinkable luxuries. The crisis is reshaping school cafeterias too. Public school districts from Dallas to Detroit are scrambling to meet budgets, cutting beef from menus and replacing it with cheaper poultry options. A July 2025 Education Week report reveals that many schools have had to renegotiate contracts or serve reduced protein portions entirely. The cultural shift is visible. Fast food chains are shrinking burgers, BBQ joints are raising prices, and American backyard grills are starting to go cold. But behind the dinner plates and lunch trays is a far graver story. the slow-motion collapse of America's meat infrastructure. The U.S. cattle herd is now at a 74-year low, levels not seen since the post-war 1950s, crippled by a deadly mix of climate-induced droughts, high feed costs, and collapsing export markets. In December 2024, Tyson Foods closed its Emporia, Kansas facility, laying off 800 workers. A May 5, 2025 briefing by the company warned that 4 additional Midwest processing lines could shutter by Thanksgiving, cutting even deeper into an already bleeding industry. The ripple effects are vast. America's corn and soybean farmers, already bruised by previous trade fights, now face a $3 billion hit as Chinese importers pull back, slashing orders by as much as 50 million bushels of soybeans. Traders in Chicago are sounding alarms of an oversupply crisis, echoing the 2018 tariff war fallout. The agricultural heartland is watching the markets dry up while silos fill to the brim with no buyers in sight. This isn't just economic turbulence. It's a seismic geopolitical event, and the result of a trade war that went horribly off script. President Trump's 2025 tariff offensive was meant to project strength and force America's rivals into submission. But in practice, it's done the opposite. Instead of bending the world, it bent the domestic market. And Canada saw the opening. On March 7, 2025, Ottawa launched a $6.5 billion stimulus package with a singular mission: seize control of the global meat corridor. That funding is already transforming Canada's food logistics landscape. State-of-the-art cold storage hubs are springing up across Manitoba. Expanded rail corridors now let Canadian packers bypass U.S. borders entirely, sending shipments straight to Asian ports. The result: explosive growth. Statistics Canada reports that Canada secured over $5 billion in new meat contracts in just the first half of 2025. Korean and Filipino demand surged 20% in Q2 alone. Canadian exporters, led by Maple Leaf Foods, are embedding themselves deep into Asia's long-term protein supply chains that American producers are increasingly shut out of. Meanwhile, U.S. meat exports are in freefall. On July 10, 2025, Reuters reported that China's 125% retaliatory tariffs, combined with lapsed USDA facility licenses, have gutted American beef shipments to China by 97%. Weekly exports have dropped from 2,000 tons to just 54 by late March. The world's largest consumer market has essentially cut the U.S. out of the loop, and is looking north instead. Canada is filling the void. Exports to Japan alone have climbed 13.1%, worth over $518 million by May. Manitoba packers, flush with federal support, are racing to secure more contracts. Cold chains are growing. Rail lines are lengthening. Ottawa is not just playing catch-up, it's building dominance. And yet the U.S. has one last shot. In July 2025, the USDA proposed a North America-Asia Meat Safety Standards Pact, a regulatory alignment that could ease tariffs, reopen markets, and level the playing field. But the clock is ticking. Trade negotiations are slow. Domestic politics are fractured. And in the meantime, American farmers are suffering. Tyson Foods' 8.2% beef price spike, also reported on May 5th, sent its stock down 9%. Analysts warn that if China's license freeze extends past August, the U.S. could lose another $1 billion in orders. What was once America's protein empire, worth $200 billion, is now teetering on the edge. Its global market share is collapsing, its infrastructure is shrinking, and its political leadership is stalled in a trade doctrine that no longer matches economic reality. All the while, Canada is capitalizing, accelerating, and locking in its dominance of the Pacific Rim meat trade. And so the question remains, can Washington pivot in time? Can a late-stage trade deal salvage American exports and stabilize domestic prices? Or has the U.S., through its own policies, handed its global food crown to a quieter, more strategic neighbor? One thing is clear, this isn't just a meat shortage. It's a geopolitical earthquake, and the aftershocks will be felt in grocery stores, farm fields, and boardrooms from coast to coast. Let us know what you think. Drop your predictions in the comments. Will America mount a comeback, or is its protein dominance permanently cooked? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories reshaping global trade. Up next, is China preparing its next economic strike? And could it break the back of U.S. agriculture once and for all? Stay tuned.